So, the latest preview for Doom the Dark Ages has been released, and to be honest with you, yes, it looks very good. It looks amazing, actually. This is a screenshot. Like, this looks like a custom-made 3D render for whatever it is you're doing. But no, this is just a random screenshot that someone has taken from the game at some point from a video, and it looks incredible. Like, the detail on it, the quality of the graphics, it's the sort of Space Marine 2 style level of graphics where it's just so good. Everything you take in it just looks like a work of art in itself, which is genuinely like, okay, fine. Graphics. I mean, so you've got to understand, I began playing Doom, the original, back in like 1991 or whenever it was released, on other people's PCs. I didn't have a PC that could run it. And the first PC I got, I remember it being delivered. It was during the summer holidays, so I was at home. I think I was 16, something like that, and I set it up in the hallway and installed Doom 2 on it. It was a 486 DX280, and it had 8 meg of RAM, which meant it could run Doom 2, because I had to wait that long to get a copy of a PC that could play Doom, and Doom 2 came with the PC. My God, that was the best summer holiday ever, right? And so watching Doom evolve over the years has been a very interesting thing. I enjoyed Doom 2016. I thought it was a really good spiritual, well, not even spiritual, but it's a really good successor to the original games, especially going through the long and interesting history that Doom has had. I don't want to get into a big thing on that, but basically they've all been really good in their own way. Even Quake 2 was quite good, actually. They had a good co-op campaign. And Doom 3, I thought was really good because it was different to the other Dooms, because it was a much more horror style game, which I actually really appreciated. I thought that it was incredibly well done. But anyway, my point being, I'm very, 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 very familiar with the Doom franchise. And yet again, id Software seem to be doing a spectacular job with the property that they have. I'm genuinely impressed, right? But one of the things that I can't help but notice, and this is something that I shouldn't really have to think about, but it does bring itself to the forefront, is just how unashamedly masculine the Doom series has been since the word go, since the very first installment of it. Because like I said, back in the day, it was understood that some things were made with men in mind and other things were made with women in mind. Now, of course, as with any consumer product, there's nothing stopping anyone from buying it. So if you're a girl who likes a masculine thing, you can buy it. If you're a boy who likes a feminine thing, you're gay, but you can still buy it. And this was just normal. This was normal society. This was just how things were. Until the last decade or so, when they have tried to make everything for everyone. And there are some elements of that in Doom the Dark Ages, but the issue is one of representation and intention. There are elements of this where they're using the rhetoric of this is for everyone. They're even including a game journo mode where you can turn down the difficulty to ridiculously easy levels, which I'll personally use because I'm quite old now and my reflexes aren't what they used to be. It used to be a nightmare on Quake 3. The final level where it's the jump arena, I can't even remember the name of it, man. That with railguns, I was a nightmare on that. Anyway, I'm not anymore. And so I'll be using the game journo mode too. But anyway, so like I said, this just looks gorgeous. And the theme of the game tells you about the target audience, right? And the way that they frame it tells you who are the people who are going to primarily buy it. So, for example, if they advertise saying, look, in Doom Dark Ages, you are the super weapon, well, whose fantasy is that? That is a very masculine fantasy, as you can tell. But again, all of the promotional material and just, I mean, what would you do for this game that wasn't just about hyper-masculine promotional material, right? All of the ways that they promote it are, of course, aiming towards young men for whom simulated violence is something that they personally enjoy. And I was one of these young men. And I tell you what, like this, there are a lot of people saying, well, this doesn't really feel like Doom anymore. And in some ways, yes, but in other ways, I don't know, it does still feel like Doom, actually. And I think there's nothing wrong with going outside of the bounds of what has already been established and expanding canon. that does come with pitfalls. Of course, sometimes it's bad, other times it's good, but it stops a franchise from being stale. And this, like the Cyber Dragon, okay, whatever. Whether it's doomy or not, I don't even care. That is a pretty cool concept. And the team who made it seem really excited about it, right? They seem to be doing the thing that they personally want to see exist in the world in accordance to their own personal passions. And I think that's just wonderful. And the fact that they get to do such a superb job of this. I mean, like Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, again, whatever you want to say about id Software and Doom overall, is the gunplay in these games is generally really solid, right? You can rely on them, because this is all id Software has really done. So you can expect them to have solid gunplay in their first-person shooter games. It's just one of the things that they do well. They're not Bethesda, although it is published by Bethesda, but then the developers are not Bethesda. It's not going to be Fallout 3, right? And this shows in, again, the marketing. Doom has and always will be about the guns. Like, that is completely true. And who is interested in guns? Well, it's the guys. It's lads. It's men. It's people who are interested in weapons of war. It's generally not the ladies. And that's fine. It's not a judgment. It's just a fact of life. And so you can see from the inspiration, well, they say obviously the original inspiration is Doom, naturally, which, again, hyper-masculine. What I like about this, and Doom has always had this perspective, is there's an unashamed heroism in the male protagonist, right? That for the past decade or so, they have trying to undermine, right? The progressive forces in our culture have been trying to wear down and denigrate and say, no, the male hero is not sufficient. There's something wrong with him. He is somehow exclusionary and not appropriate. And what I love is that we've arrived back at a point where, okay, well, that may well all be true, but we're still having it. The other inspiration for this is apparently Batman The Dark Knight Returns, which I'm not familiar with, but it's a Frank Miller comic. And of course 300, which was also based on a Frank Miller comic, which couldn't glorify masculinity anymore if it wanted to, could it? So these are great inspirations, and what's nice is that these guys actually are able to make this, right? Now, it's probably that it's the Doom franchise, and it's id Software. Maybe you wouldn't get the funding if you were a new startup or something like that was producing something. I don't know. But it is nice that we have the freedom to see properties like this come into existence. And they've got a good philosophy behind it too. I like the fact that they have these gameplay catchphrases to inform the design of the game. So Doom 2016's catchphrase was run and gun, which, fair, that's what you did. Doom Eternal, you jumped and shoot, which is what you did. Personally, I wasn't as into that because I didn't want... It's not the mobility. The mobility is bad, obviously. It's that there's something that it transforms it into a different kind of game than Doom was. It becomes kind of pseudo-platformer, and it didn't really resonate with me. But in Doom the Dark Ages, the philosophy behind it is stand and fight, which I think is a very strong phrase. And again, it's a very hyper-masculine phrase, like stand and fight. And so what they do, they give you a giant shield with razor blades on it, that is just a great way of bringing out that ethos. Anyway, apparently there will be a custom difficulty slider. Now, I actually have more to say about this. I might do a different video about this, but it means that people like me and game journalists will be able to play it. And so 7 months ago, this trailer came out, and everyone was like, hang on a second. At the end of this, are you in a giant mech? And it turns out that apparently, yeah, you are in a giant mech, which, why not? Just why not? What's wrong with this? Like, again, who do giant mechs appeal to? Like, how many women are just like, God, if only I was the Doomslayer destroying skyscraper-sized demons in a giant mech. The rhetoric that they use is obviously inclusive. I mean, at one point, they in this particular video, this chap here, I don't know his name offhand, says, well, this is for all Doomslayers. It's like, yeah, it is. But you attract what you represent, right? And if you are representing your hero as like this ungodly, strong warrior who can't be beaten and is terrifying the forces of hell with just his person, a shield, and a shotgun, you end up attracting the kind of people who think, oh, wow, that looks cool. And those kind of people happen to come from a particular demographic in society, right? Not many old people are going to be looking at this and saying, oh, that's awesome. Not many young women are going to be looking at this saying, oh, that looks awesome. Well, I'm not saying there aren't any. Mostly this is going to be young men, right? Men in their teens to, say, early 30s who look at this, and me, because I've always been a fan of Doom. They're going to look at this and say, wow, that's awesome. That's epic. Can I do this? And I find it interesting how if you actually watch their video and look at the team, right, there's a real wholesomeness about this, right? And one of the things you can tell, despite the fact that it's a scripted video that they lead you in, and they've obviously had many takes doing this, they're clearly very thrilled about what they're doing, and they're clearly very proud about what they're doing. They're clearly doing the thing they want to do. And I mean, in Doom Eternal, they were teasing the mortally challenged demons and the use of politically correct language and culture. So there are obviously people who are not like, oh, we have to be hyper woke. Now you do see a few women and whatnot, you know, in the background. So I'm not saying that these guys are like ultra based and racist or something, or misogynists or something like that. I'm not saying that. But what they are is just, they look like people who are just living their authentic selves without too much political baggage. And the political baggage just doesn't seem to have seeped into the game that much, as far as, well, anywhere that I can see, actually. And the fact that it glorifies masculinity kind of implies that they're not, like, being dominated by some foreign ideology, by an ideology they don't sincerely believe in. And so they appear to be having a good time, and they appear to be very proud. Now, of course, I'm just seeing the promotion materials. I could be completely wrong about this. But I don't think you produce a game that is so unashamedly proud of humans beating the hell out of things, human men beating the hell out of things, if you don't see that as an acceptable and worthy thing for men to do. Evil things, obviously, the minions of hell, not just random people. And so this, and the whole thing's framed as in you're saving cities from the minions of hell. So you are man the defender of civilization, of good. I mean, he literally says good and evil. The power balance is in question, and it's your job as the Christian, and Doom always has been an explicitly Christian game. Your job as the Christian to defeat the forces of hell using ultra-violence, which is, I mean, you can't get a more morally uncomplex question to answer. Oh, you know, it's not GTA or something. Oh, should I kill that guy and that guy? No, these are all demons. Look at them. You judge them by looking at them, and you just kill them all without thinking about it. And the bad guy is completely evil. You just need to slay everything. And this is a wonderful return to a kind of hyper-masculine game where it is just, again, morally uncomplex, but focused on those things that young men particularly enjoy, which is the action. It is the action of the thing. And I think that is a representation of their game studio, because as you can see, almost all of them are men, right? They're almost all men who have made this game. There is, like I said, one or two women around, dotted in the crowd. I think there's one back there, or maybe that's got long hair. I can't tell. It's a bit fuzzy. But the point being, this is what men organically do, basically. They make the things they're interested in. And when you artificially start DEI hiring, so now the women and non-binary devs make up 32% of all game developers, well, not at id Software, right? And what do you get out of it? You get epic stuff. Epic manly stuff, which is really cool and really appeals to me. Like I said, I'll be playing on game journo mode, but that is really, really good that they get, and it's nice that they just get to be normal people and make something awesome rather than being under the thumb of some invasive feminist ideological nonsense where it's like, no, you have to hire, you have to hire, you have to hire. And that changes the nature of the studio, which changes the nature of the game, because people do represent themselves and what they want to see of themselves in the products that they make, in the art that they make. And that's why there are so many game studios now that produce junk. And it's not even about the talent of the people involved. It's about the interest of the people involved. You get this kind of strange uglification. And there was a woman in the trailer that we got, and everyone was saying, "Oh, she's uglified." I don't know if I can find her. I didn't think she was. I thought she looked quite normal, to be honest. There was nothing wrong with her. But anyway, I don't know where she is. But you get this kind of, you get this uglification and an attempt to subvert from within by people who are not only politically motivated, but don't see themselves represented in the heroic masculine ideal. Whereas Doom, the franchise, it didn't begin necessarily this way. It began as kind of a regular Joe, like the last guy on a spaceship who had to go down and save all his friends and kill these demons and close the portal to hell. But from Doom 2016 onwards, where the Doom guy becomes the Doom Slayer, it's clearly evolved into a celebration of the heroic masculine. And it's honestly really, really cool. It's really nice to see, in the face of all of this nonsense, that such things can still be made. And, man, they've done an amazing job, and it looks awesome. It looks really cool. I mean, like, it looks movie quality in the graphics, just like Space Marine 2. It's like I'm playing a movie, which it's nice to see, again, after all of these years, this kind of apotheosis of the genre. And I actually have no doubt that id Software will do an amazing job with the actual mechanics of the game. There's very, very little doubt in my mind. I've got a few reservations, but nothing negative that I want to get into now. So anyway, yeah, I just thought this was an interesting thing, because this came up in my feed and I was just like, okay, that does look badass. Yeah, fair enough. They've done a really great job here. And yeah, I'll probably end up getting it.